Steve Bederman. He is the CEO of the Call Center Corporation. We have Terry Greismer, who is the Vice President of the Stockade Group, and Joe Battisti, who is the COO of the Stockade Group. These gentlemen will be a part of today's panel. I'm going to go ahead and let them take over, and then we will have a question and answer session at the end of today's presentation. Thank you all again for joining us.
Thank you, Megan. My name is Steve Bederman, and I am the CEO of the corporation. We're a group of companies, including the Call Center Corporation, that professes to be expert in terms of marketing and in terms of how, in fact, to be able to attack your markets and to get the response from whomever you're searching for, that you're looking to do. What I'll tell you is generally I really appreciate being asked to provide this information to you. So what I intend to do is to give you a general outlook in terms of two areas that need to be looked at before you enter into a campaign that is mobile-centric. And one of those areas will be in terms of how to bring visitors and what type of visitors are you looking to have to come to that mobile website, and what is your strategy in terms of doing that. And then really, what is the difference between a mobile site that's action-driven and your general site that I know all of you already have and work with on a daily basis. They are quite different. What I will then do is I will hand over some of the discussion to Joe and Terry, who are with the Stockade Group, and they can then probably do a better job than I in terms of taking the content that I provide you and then applying it specifically to education, I know in the two areas of their experience, which is in development and admissions. So why don't we start with the next screen and let's get moving. Joe, why don't you introduce, well, let's just keep going. Joe, why don't you introduce yourself?
Great. Thank you, Steve. And thanks, everybody, for attending today. Again, my name is Joe Battisti, the COO of the Stockade Group. Many of you, I'm hoping, is currently already very familiar with the Stockade Group and some of the other educational series that we've been putting together, including the Cup of Joe that might be coming out every morning. Perhaps you're receiving some of that. We today are talking about a very specific topic regarding the use of mobile websites. Again, my past experience has been all around contact centers over the past 15, 20 years, running them and incorporating the use of technology to make our job easier and try to reach people in different ways, hopefully the way that they want to be reached, and be able to communicate those ways the most cost effectively and the most productively. So I'm very excited to be here today to talk about the next piece of technology and how you might be able to utilize that inside your departments in both development as well as in the enrollment management side or admission side of the house. So thank you. Terry?
Great. And Terry?
Hi, everyone. My name is Terry Greismer. I'm also with the Stockade Consulting Group, and thanks for joining us. As Joe mentioned, we work exclusively with higher education in the areas of admissions as well as development, and our goal really is to help you engage. And I work with clients every day on how do we engage your constituents, how do we recruit people and students, and how do we engage alumni to raise money. And so I think the focus of this webinar about the use of a mobile website is to help make that process more efficient. Once you've caught someone's attention, either on the admission side or the development side, how do you process and obtain the outcome you want as quickly and as efficiently and as user-friendly as possible? We all know the world is changing, and our lives at Stockade Group have changed quite a bit. It's more of a challenge, so this is just one tool we want to talk to you about today to help you reach and exceed your goals. So I'll leave it at that, and we'll talk more about it in a few minutes.
Well, thanks, Terry. Let's go to the next screen. And I think that's a good segue, Terry, into the discussion today, which is the world is changing. And although I am not the expert alone in education, and you all are, from what I do understand is that it's a very competitive environment, and both on the admission side of gaining students to meet your goals each semester or quarter, each term, and as well as on the follow-through side, which is to find means with your alumni base to be able to assure that they can continue to contribute, for the length of their time back to the school that they got their education from. And because the world's changing, and I know that most of the history of education in terms of these initiatives has been based on contacting, calling people, on call centers and on mail. That I have to believe that if there are 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 universities and they're all doing that it's a saturated approach to how to get people's attention, and that oftentimes people who are used to the same approach overlook it. So they overlook the mail, they overlook the phone call, and they find what most people do, ways to deny that call coming in and deny that approach. But in this changing world that we have, there are many more forms today of communication that we're tied to, that can be utilized to ensure even a greater attention to contact and a greater success response in terms of what you're looking for. Here's some mobile statistics that I find really interesting, because we're talking about a mobile website and we're talking about how you draw people's attention. So obviously, we need to know how many people have phones these days and how are they using them. The fastest growing area or segment of mobile phone use are actually in the age over 40. And over half the individuals using mobile technology are over 35. So that certainly speaks to two areas that I know have to be of your concern. One is that continuing education group that you're looking at to add to your evening classes and your maybe your other than normal term requirements, where you're looking to add 10, 15, 20 students or more a term, and that's an age group over 35, and as well as your development area where you're looking for pledges from people that are now in their success portion of their career. And really, one thing that I can always tell you, even as I sit here, is my cell phone is right next to me. So let's go to the next screen and let's talk about how do you do this and how do you get close to these people. Okay, when you decide that you want to, and we'll call it a campaign, have a campaign to be able to connect with people, and you recognize that cell phones are a key means of doing that in some fashion, then you have to decide what are the goals. So first things first, when you look at a website that you have at your university, I'm sure every university has a website. And I'm sure that every one of those websites can be viewed through mobile technology. But that is not what we're talking about today. We're talking about action-driven, which means it's a short-term site directed to a specific action that you are hoping that your constituency takes. So when you decide on how am I going to drive traffic, and let's assume already that you know how you're going to drive traffic to that website, you have to decide, okay, what is this website going to look like? It's not my university website. It's a website geared to an action, like maybe giving scholarship information, maybe asking for pledges of a specific type and for a specific moment in time. So one is you have to say, okay, I'm going to narrow the purpose of the site. Let me bring our industry experts into this a little bit, and either Terry or Joe, talk to me a moment about what a narrow purpose of a site in education, either on development or in admissions may be.
I'll go first. I think, at least from an admissions perspective or an enrollment management perspective, one of the items that a lot of schools will like to try to derive a lot of excitement is through, like I think you have actually mentioned it, scholarship eligibility, or maybe grants or financial aid related material that students may be, obviously probably are more often than not very interested in understanding as they're looking to uncover the schools that they're going to be considering to attend. So that might be one thing where they could find out what they're eligible for, whether it's grants, financial aid, scholarship, merit scholarship eligibility. So I think that might be a good example that most schools would have at least a portion or at least some ability to offer some form of a merit scholarship or maybe grants. Obviously, every school is a little different, but I think that's a good example to be very narrow, have a very narrow purpose.
And Joe, it's that's interesting because that although the group that's growing quickest in mobile technology is 40 years old and above, one of the reasons for that is that young generation, the one in high school or coming out of high school, we know they're already using it. It's hard to expand a group that's already monopolized the use of phones. So in that case, it sounds like what you're saying, and hold that initiative, we can refer to it later, that a specific initiative would be to gain specific scholarship information for students relative, of course, to your school. And Terry, on the development side, can you think of a specific use that might make sense?
Sure. Well, I think to make it timely, one of the things I know we have several clients participating in it, coming up very soon after Thanksgiving is Giving Tuesday, which some of you are probably aware of. Maybe some of your institutions are piggybacking on this, what's I think becoming more of a national trend each year, which is the Tuesday following Thanksgiving. You've got Black Friday, which is the day of shopping for some of you out there, or the day that some of us stay home and bunker down in our house. Then on Monday is the Internet Day of shopping, and now Tuesday is Giving Tuesday, and that's the day for people to give back. And so we have schools that are trying to piggyback and leverage this opportunity to reach out to alumni and say, hey, let's all give back today, and why not get back to your alma mater? So what a great opportunity to use a mobile site would be for the specific purpose for an event like this, like a give-a-thon where you're having a 24 or 48-hour special event where you're going to do an all-out blitz to your constituents, alumni, parents, community members, family, and friends, would be to promote the site as the receptacle where people can respond to social media, to email, to text messaging, could be pre-recorded messaging, which we do a lot of, traditional direct mail, where you're trying to get everyone to a call to action during this period. And we could set up a Giving Tuesday special mobile site where we would funnel everyone in to hopefully collect gifts primarily, but also to collect pledges. And the other, I think, key item we would want to start collecting with this sort of a site would be opt-in cell phone information. Because as we all know, today cell phones are becoming more prevalent, and 5 years from now, it's where we're all going to need to be. And we have to start developing that cell phone opt-in list to remain relevant and to be able to communicate with our constituents. This is a great way and a great use of this tool. So that's one example, be Giving Tuesday. So consider that.
Well, I appreciate that. So really, you said two things. One is that the Tuesday after Thanksgiving is a day that, in a sense, is Black Tuesday, because you're still trying to reach into people's wallets on Tuesday. So what our society has done, my gosh. The other side of that is that in seriousness, the ability to take a specific day and gear a specific campaign, in this case to a pledge-a-thon Giving Tuesday, you would build a website, a mobile website for that specific purpose. You would gather information from the visitor when they came for that purpose, and you would make it a very simple and easy to navigate approach. So in this case, where people are out and about all day, but you've driven them to come through their mobile phone to your website, you then give them a very easy to navigate and simple approach and a very yes or no kind of approach to a campaign. Let's go to the next screen and talk about this further. All right, let's talk about narrowing the purpose, which we've referred to in admissions, we've referred to in development, and of course there are other ways to do this. I can tell you a way that we used some years ago. As I said, we're a marketing company and we do a lot of mobile websites for a wide range of industries. And after the last election, we had someone who had won their election, and they wanted to get to their constituents to be able to determine what that politician's agenda would be, and priorities for the next term. So what they did is they drew traffic from a wide range, and they had panel discussion, with the politician, talking and inviting their constituents to this. And they asked in a number of ways to come to the mobile website and to simply answer priority questions. Are you more interested in health care? Are you more interested in defense? Are you more interested in the budget? And it was a very narrow purpose. It was done in this case. It was done in almost a survey form. So for everything you're sitting there thinking about, it's really up to your creativity how you want to do it. Remember, the purpose of a site, though, has to be very specific, and the reason you're using mobile technology as a means to talk to your constituency is because, first of all, it's different, and secondly, it's accessible. And it's not just a call center calling you. It's not just an email hitting you. It's not just a mail, a snail mail coming to your door. But it's something specific. It speaks of being aggressive. It speaks of taking an action now. And those are the things you want to think about. I know Stockade, if you spend time with them, will talk to you further about how to narrow it down for yourselves in terms of how can an initiative like this be effective. Let's go to the next screen. Okay, no matter how or what you use at the end to get a result, meaning I want to get a pledge, I want to tell a student that I'm a good school and I can share scholarship information with them, I really have to recognize that I still have an issue. And my issue is, although I'm set up to do this and ready to take information in a simple and easy to use form, an action-driven form, I still have to find a way to bring people to it. And we have found that in bringing people to any initiative that you have should require a multi-tactical approach. So before I ever go build this, to make it look the way I want it to look, to be able to direct the activity and behavior that I want from the people coming to it, I have to find a way to go get those people. So there's a number of ways that you can do that, and here this lists them: the mobile text campaign, email, print campaigns, ringless voicemail, broadcast message, your telephone, your call center campaigns. All of the things you do now need to be determined before you begin to create your mobile website to say, okay, how am I going to get people? How much traffic do I think this will bring? And if I'm going to go to the time and expense to build a mobile site, which is a short-term use site, how in fact am I going to be assured that I'm going to have people come? My experience is that for an example, you can say, well, I'll use a mobile text campaign. So I'm going to go out to everybody I know with a cell phone, and I'm going to say, pledge, click here come to my website. And I would say that's a great tactic, and it's one certainly that that we can implement for you. But at the same time, what I would say is, are you sure that that alone is going to get the kind of universal and global appeal that you want? And I would suggest that that alone is not enough. So then you would say, well, what else can I do that's still cost effective to have people come back at that specific Dark Tuesday, in time to donate their money? All right, I think I'm going to take my database and I'm going to send out an email asking people to come to this website at this time and receive some value for it while they put in their information. Would that be enough? That's your question. Do I add, now that I'm adding a tactic of mobile texting to the cell phones, and now that I'm taking my database of candidates that I want to inform to come, is email enough? Email and texting enough? I would say to you, it may be enough, but are you sure it's enough? And then I would say, what about print campaign? Who reads print versus who reads emails versus who sees a mobile text campaign? A mobile text campaign may be viewed by a younger constituency. An email campaign may be viewed more by business people that may relate even more to scholarships. What would a print campaign speak to? Who would be getting that? And is it worth the expense to do that and add that on as an additional tactic? I would say that may be a risk. If you've never done a mobile campaign before, you don't want to overspend the initiative and find out that you're still not getting the results you want. So a print campaign may become a tactic that you may bring in once you've proven the concept of a mobile action website. What's a ringless voicemail campaign or a broadcast message campaign? Those are both messages that you can record that say, hey, please come today to this website. Use your mobile phone to do it. You'll find it's easy to use and simple to navigate. And everybody that comes will give you this special thing. And at the same time, we'd love to have you pledge. And you can do that on a telephone call, pennies per person. So, and you can do it whether it's broadcast messaging or ringless. So if somebody has a cell phone, you can take their cell phone and you can actually send them a broadcast message where it doesn't even ring their cell phone. It just deposits the message on the phone, so when they choose to access it, the message is sitting there and waiting for them. And then, of course, we know what broadcast messaging is. And then last, there's a phone campaign. And that's using your call center or your students or a company like Stockade to sit down and to call people and to say, on Tuesday we have this great initiative. We'd love you to join us. Pick up your mobile phone and enter in our URL, and we'd love to have you donate money that day. And you can do it in a very specific way. Now don't misunderstand. You can also set up your permanent website to attract and take this information too. But so you don't have to only drive them to your mobile phone, but you give them that mobile phone site as an alternative with this specific action in mind. But in my world, if I were attacking a group of people and wanting them to come to me for a certain purpose at a certain time, I would decide ahead of time if I could do it, and if I could implement a wide-ranging strategy with multiple tactics, as you see in this form, that can in fact be used in parallel with each other and sort of embrace on a global basis the customer or the donor base or the student base that you're looking to. And if I can do that cost effectively, then I'm ready to go build my mobile website, and because I've decided that I know how I can bring visitors to the party. Let's go to the next screen. Well, people text. 2.25 trillion text messages are sent every year in the United States. 6.3 billion per day, 20 text messages for every person. So if you need to be convinced that people react to their cell phone, frankly, better than they do for email, email, better than they do for a phone call, better than they do for postage stamp mail, then I think you're ready to go ahead and to do this. The constituents will subscribe to what interests them, and what interests them is using their mobile technology. Let's go to the next screen. All right, well, we talked about various ways of bringing people to your site. One is an email campaign, and I'm curious in the industry of education, Terry, how is email used today?
All right, well, I mean, email is very popular. Everyone's doing it for sure. I think the past couple of years there's a recognition that it's for most schools, although I would say this, some schools have a lot more success with email campaigns than others on the development side when it comes to raising money. We have a couple clients that still generate large participation numbers by engaging via email with clients. We have other schools that put a lot of effort into email and they don't get that same engagement. But it's there. I think you have to be doing it. And everyone's doing it at one level or another. It's just one of those areas that you need to be reaching out to people on.
Thanks, Terry. I'll tell you what you said there that I think should be pertinent to this audience, which is it's used a lot. And if it's used a lot and you're getting a diminishing return from it, one way that you can enhance the return is to give people action-driven types of behavior that you're asking for in the email. In other words, in the email, go to my website, go and take this action. We have a wonderful mobile website. You can do a very specific thing with it. And so, in other words, if I'm going to do an email campaign, I'm going to do that campaign, and I'm going to not just do it for information, and I'm not going to do it passively. I'm going to ask for an action in return. And remember that every time you do a marketing tactic, you want an action in return. If you don't do that, you really don't know. All you're really doing is peppering the market, but you don't know if they like pepper at all. So let's go to the next screen. A print campaign. Joe, how are print campaigns used in education?
Like Terry said, when it comes to email, print is relied on a lot. I think sometimes we will even consult with clients to really not second guess, but I would say think about and try to read your return, especially in the development side where you're sending a lot of mail out to, let's say, non-donor constituents versus prior donor. What kind of return are you getting on that versus your expense? On the admission side, I think it's used a lot, and it should be very productive. It can be very productive, giving out a lot of information about the school. Timelines and information about what makes you different, and at the same time pointing them to sites like what you're talking about. I think would be very good to use in their overall scheme to try to get them to find, take almost a voting with your feet type of an approach where give us a call, go online, fill out a form, do something so that you can see what makes us different and why you should be considering us as far as matriculating to our school versus someone else.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Let's go to the next one. Print is expensive. When you invest in print, you're now investing almost a very significant cost that is not movable. And you have to have a response from it, or you're going to lose in this initiative. So where other types of tactics come in, like I had mentioned earlier, the ringless voicemail, or let's go to the next screen, the broadcast messaging type of service. These are done where they're not this immovable piece inside a cost campaign where it's a cost that's very heavy to reach. These are the types of campaigns where you're leaving voice messages for just pennies, and it doesn't necessarily ensure that you're going to get an action, or reaction any different than you would from print. But what it assures you is that you're going to blanket your universe with information. You know that there's going to be a high level of hearing that message on a very instantaneous basis. And these types of campaigns are very good when I want a response today on, for example, my mobile website. So I can leave you a message at this very moment for pennies, and I can say to you, come right now, use your mobile phone if you're out shopping, and come to a site and do this specific pledge action that you're looking for. But let's go to the next screen. Phone campaign. Ultimately, this is the best way to do anything, which is to get somebody on the phone and to talk to them and to have them communicate back and forth with you, human to human. But again, what you're going to see in a phone campaign is the same thing you're going to see in a print campaign. It's a very heavy, hard cost to it. And in that regard, it's something that you have to consider. So when I'm using a phone campaign, I'm going to use a phone campaign in a longer-term initiative, in an initiative that is my fall phone-a-thon, as an example. I want to get students to join my my continuing education term, next January, where I have time and I can spend and be thoughtful and talk to people. I can send something out to people and go to the expense that's required to do that, and not believe that they're going to all know about me today, but know that a follow-up from a mail campaign to a phone campaign is a very solid thing. But go to the next screen, because there's something I want to focus you in on right now with regard to a very effective approach for a mobile campaign. And it's a text message campaign. And the screen, although it doesn't refer to it, let me just allude to it for a moment. If I have gathered all of the cell phone numbers from all of the constituents that I am looking at to do an action for me, and I send them out a text message, and I say, please come and click on this link in the text message and come to this site and pledge money today on Tuesday after Thanksgiving. It's a national donation day. Now I'm talking about something that's pennies on the dollar to do, and at the same time is very effective, and simply allows somebody who gets that message to immediately take an action, click on a link, and where do they come back to? Do they come back to your normal website where now they're lost in all of the navigation and the many pages, or do they come specifically to a mobile web page which is 1 or 2 pages alone that specifically says, click here and put your donation in, put your credit card in, put your promise in. So you can see that I may be setting people up using my phone campaign, my mail campaign, and my email campaigns to come on a certain day to do a certain action. But then I'm going to attack that action on that day both by my phone messaging, my ringless voicemail, and most important, a text message campaign that will go out and speak specifically to the audience that you want to click on a link and come directly back to that action-driven mobile site. The reason it's action-driven is because it is saying to them, take an action. If you want to learn more about my school, go to this URL. But in this case, if you want to donate, do it here and do it now. Now, once they come there, though, what do? I have to decide what activity I want for them to do once they click over to that mobile website. And I may want them to fill out a contact form. If so, I need to determine exactly, simply what fields are there. And then, as Terry had said earlier, I want them to I want them opt in so that I can use them over and over and over. And I want them to approve this type of communication, in the future. So here's the way this works in a nutshell. First, you decide on what your campaign is going to be. Then you decide on who would best be suited to, that you can go advertise that campaign to. So who is that group of people in your database that you want to bring to do that specific activity? Once I realize who my group of people is, then here's what I do. I decide on what are my best and most cost-effective methods to drive them to come to both my mobile site and to take the actions I want. As we said, from a marketing side, it may be text messaging. Well, certainly will be text messaging and voice messaging. It may be print. It may be phone calls, and probably will be email. So now I have a comprehensive attack. I've got my marketing plan in place. I know who I'm going to ask to do it. Then I've decided on this screen, once I bring them to this site, what specific activity do I want them to do, and what information do I want them to to come and gather. And by the way, you want to keep their ability to do something on that phone to less than 3 minutes. So you want them to go boom, 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 and make decisions and move on. And they can do that while they're sitting on a bench in a park, watching their dog run around. So it's really that. Who am I going to? What do I want to accomplish? Who am I going to ask to contribute in that case? How am I going to tell those people to come to me? And once they come to me on my mobile website, how in fact am I going to tell them to gather the information, to give me the information I want to gather in a short and succinct, less than 3-minute approach? Let's go to the next screen. Succinct and easy to navigate. As I just said, you keep a very specific URL for your website. We keep that website running because oftentimes, even though it's that day you want a donation, you might find that people will be coming back for days or weeks later to take that action that you want. So we assign a specific URL. We keep that running. As I said, you want to keep the information succinct, and graphics are valuable, but at the same time, space is limited on a telephone. So you want to do what the button says and keep it easy. Next screen. The cost of this type of a thing is not expensive. So if you're sitting here and saying, well, that's a lot, let's think again for a minute, because the actual cost of building a mobile website is in the hundreds, not thousands of dollars. And it takes days, not weeks or months. And really, if you tell a company like Stockade what it is you're looking for, they will design it for you. So all of that is really included. It's not a very expensive proposition. And frankly, once you've developed the website, then it's simply a matter of deciding how to go after the audience to bring them in, as we said. I'm curious to know, Terry, if you see that using multi-tactics is a logical approach for universities in the pledge world, or are they, and I don't know this, I'm just asking you, are they mostly centered on doing single things like phone calls or emails, or are they used to doing a comprehensive attack marketing plan? We can't hear you.
Whoops, I was muted. Some are more comprehensive than others. There are certainly schools out there that have long-term strategic plans and a comprehensive approach, and then we have other clients who are a little bit more stuck in their traditional method of doing 2 direct mail pieces a year, maybe some emails and a phone-a-thon. And I'll think that a conversation that I probably have at least once a week is with someone who will call me and say, Terry, I need your help because we need to step up our game here at the school within the development office, the advancement office. I have our school president or my VP or someone at the senior level is badgering us to be more forward-thinking. He wants us to be mobile texting, mobile pledging, mobile giving friendly. He wants us to be using more social media, and he wants us to have this sort of new age strategic plan, and we all agree we need to get there, but we don't see the ROI. It seems to be really expensive, and we're not quite sure how to get into that without allocating too many resources to something that's not going to have the big return. At the end of the day, all of our clients need to hit numbers, and it's all about trying to achieve goals. And if you waste too much energy and resources in an area that's not going to drive a short-term ROI, a positive ROI, it puts our clients in a tough situation. So I think this sort of a program presents an opportunity for our clients, and I like to keep it simple and say, you can get, it's not as expensive as you think to get into the mobile giving world, to set up a site like this, to start engaging with your clients via mobile phones, cell phones, to do some new forms of outreach that are not nearly as expensive as direct mail. So we can get you there, and you can start dipping your big toe in the water, so to speak. You can satisfy the powers that be. It's not going to be the magic bullet. We're not suddenly going to triple your revenue by setting up a site or by implementing some texting or mobile giving, but you're going to start identifying who are your constituents who want to communicate with you that way, and you're going to be at the forefront, because we know in a couple of years, as things continue to develop, you will already be in it, and you can then build the program. And then just finally, I will add that most of our clients have at least 1 or 2 times a year when they do a 24, 48-hour blitz, and this is the type of site that's perfect for that. So it fits really well right now. So that's my long-winded response.
Well, thanks, sir. Joe, I'll end if we have any questions, but I wanted to ask you, because you've been working in education for a very long time, do you find that the group of people that you work with in education are in tune with wanting to do more forward edge type of activity like this, or you find that this is a difficult thing to not only convince the people on this phone call, but for the people on this phone call to go convince their deans of their schools that this is the right thing to do?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I think everybody's talking about it, and I think everybody is struggling with the way to communicate, this type of thinking and these types of initiatives to put in place. And I think sometimes people feel like it's kind of, the old cliche of kind of turning at the Titanic and not being able to really make it happen because they think it's just, either it's too much or it's just too hard or it's too expensive, and we need buy-in from many different levels above, and sometimes it just doesn't get done, even though everybody likes it or everybody feels like it's a good idea. So I think again, it kind of goes back to the idea of making it simple, taking a very focused topic, try to do one thing that happens on one day, or something along those lines. It's very short and it has a very specific purpose, so that you can really stay focused and more rifled in versus this large strategic plan that may take months or years to really see a return. So I think it kind of goes back to that same line of thinking of taking baby steps, seeing how easy it can be to implement, and starting there, and then you can start building. I think one thing, just to kind of end there, is that like Terry said, it's not a silver bullet. It's not something that you do once, or maybe even one tactic to support this initiative. It's something that you have to kind of get in the mindset of using on a consistent basis, because just like anything else, when you're talking to constituents in a different way, it's not going to take one message to convince them that this is what they should do or how they should communicate with you. It takes a repetitive type of an advertising approach to always be on the top of mind and reminding them that this is a way to communicate and find out more information, whether it's to participate in a phone-a-thon or whether it's to find out more information about why I should go to that school. It's very similar approach.
You know, as a marketing company myself, we take our clients and we always say to them, don't do one-off tactics. And don't expect that any single tactic in itself will win the war for you. Implement tactics that you're willing to sustain, and implement a wide range of them. All of the tactics that you implement, make sure that you can measure the results as best you can so that you're gathering data, not to prove you shouldn't do it in the future, but to improve the way you implement in the future. So if today I have a company or a school that has 2 tactics that they generally do all the time, I would say maintain those tactics, keep them going, let our measurement refine those tactics, but then what's the next tactic that we can implement? And this is where this type of an approach works, because it's an affordable, easy to implement tactic that allows you some spontaneity through the season. So, you know, if in fact I may have a client that has implemented their very sophisticated marketing and costly marketing approach, but it's sort of flattening out and they're not getting the results they want, I can go ahead and implement a tactic like a text message campaign to a mobile website within days, and we can oftentimes jump it, you know, just stimulate and use it more as an additional stimulation tactic. And I know I always have it in my bag, and I know I'm going to use it. I may not know exactly when and for what I'm going to use it, and that's how I can do that. So it's a matter of building on your tactics. Don't ever drop away from your spend, and then adding to those in a cost-effective way more instantaneous and aggressive approaches, but that they themselves can be sustained into perpetuity. And what you'll find is if you do this over the months and years, you'll have a wide-ranging way to approach your constituents that dependably in global nature will bring you what you want. So you're right. What you said, Terry, this is not in itself, by itself, going to manna from heaven. But what this is going to do is be a front-edge approach showing the sophistication of your school and doing it, recognizing that there are changing times, and now you have a tactic, you know, a tool in your tool bag that you can always go out and implement, you know, in a proper way. If that's it for me, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be thrilled. I'm sure Joe and Terry would too, to answer them for you.
Great, thank you all for that presentation. Just a reminder, if you do have a question, please type it into the question box on your webinar console. To get started with questions, Judy has asked, when someone goes to a mobile website, do they have the option to click over to the college or university's traditional website to gather more information?
Good question, of course. And it's just a link that you put on the website that says that can either say go to the standard view, you know, the standard website view, but absolutely. And it's done simply. There's no work that has to be done on the mobile website other than providing the click-through link to their normal website.
Great. We have one other question from Ashley. And she says, user-friendly for one generation may not be user-friendly for a different generation. How do you bridge this gap on a mobile website? Can't make it too simple for the 20 or 30-year-olds, but you can't make it too complicated for the 50 to 60-year-olds.
Well, I think, and I don't know, Terry or Joe, maybe before I speak, if you have anything, you know, I don't want to step over you.
The first thing that comes to mind is you can never be too simple. And I'd always just lean towards the making it too simple, even for those that can handle something more complex. So that was my first thought to that question. I mean, I realized that making it simple, making it short to the point is very important. But oversimplification is not a bad thing. That would be my opinion on that one.
Yeah, I agree, and I think some light graphics are sort of transcendent to all generations, and they can be brought into a mobile website simply. And I think the question that Judy had earlier speaks to this too, which is that if this is too simple and too narrow of a purpose for the generation coming to it, they can go to a more comprehensive look by just clicking over, to the other website. But it's important that you think those types of questions is actually asked through, because it's not hard to put a mobile website into place, but it's best done when you're thinking it ahead of time. So you've thought through this, and you recognize who is the audience you're going after, and is this the right tactic for that audience? How are we doing? Any other questions, or have we finished for the day?
We've got one more. Once you have established a mobile website and paid for it, is it cost effective to make changes to it or to add different features to it? And that is from Phil.
It's really not expensive at all. I mean, first of all, keep the mobile website up and running. There's really no cost to that, but keep it up and available to people, because you can use it again, but they also may be coming back to you from what you had been advertising earlier. And then it's just a matter of page changes or adding a page or subtracting a page. Again, only a small percentage of what you may have even paid for a site. So obviously you'd have to know what the change is, but very inexpensive and very appropriate to do. So you can take a website and continue to modify it. I think it's the right thing to do. Frankly, if there is an interest out there, talk to Stockade. These guys are good, and they certainly have a good company behind them, and in us too, to be able to answer any additional questions. And they're very serious about what they do, and find out what it takes to do something like this. Let them help you strategize it too. Don't feel that you should be forced to come up with all the thinking yourself. That's why the Stockade Group, they're consultants, because they think through the whole process for you, and and then implement it and change it when you need to. And it's not complicated. This is just not complicated. It's just a choice if you want to do it. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. It's great to have you. Thanks for inviting me, Terry and Joe.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. You guys will all find the contact information for the Stockade Group on your screen, 888-789-2586 or stockadegroup.com. If you have any further questions for our panelists or are interested in any of the technology that was discussed today, thank you again, everyone, for attending, and to our presenters, and we look forward to seeing you on our next webinar in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Good luck.